precedent says government will bail you out, depending on the decisions that you've made. If you're not prudent with your business dollars, government will buy you out. Anyone need a car?
Matt Mackowiak is a Republican strategist, and Peter Marajanian is a Democrat. Welcome to both of you. Matt, we saw, of course, the governor drew 20,000 people in her speech in Auburn last night, but now she's been not disinvited, but said she can't speak at tonight's event. What's with the Republican Party?
She's been unreinvited, Nora, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the important thing to remember here is that this is the biggest dinner, the biggest fundraising dinner in Washington is tonight. It's for House and Senate candidates. And initially they invited Palin. They thought she was the absolute best draw for that event because of some scheduling issues and some difficulty that she's had in really organizing a political team in Washington to handle her national operation. They decided to invite Newt Gingrich instead. And so Gingrich has been the person that's been on all the materials. They have all the money raised, the dinners tonight. At the last moment, Senator John Cornyn, I think, invited Palin to sit with her, sit with him at his table. And so this is just, you know, a little bit of a difficult situation.
Peter, Fred Malek, of course, who is a well-known Republican fundraiser, suggested that they should re-invite her. They did, scheduled a time for her to speak, and then apparently out of deference to Newt Gingrich, who stepped in to do this, Palin is no longer speaking. Is this Gingrich saying, I don't want her on the stage with me? Is this the beginning of the 2012 wars?
Nora, absolutely. I mean, he clearly did not want to be upstaged by Sarah Palin. It's the old guard versus the new guard in the Republican Party. There is sort of a generational struggle going on over there right now as to who's the face of the party going forward. And the old guard is hanging on. Look, Matt tried to put the best face possible on the situation, but the fact of the matter is that clearly there is some struggle within the party as to whether or not they want to hitch their wagon to Sarah Palin, and there are people who have doubts. I mean, Newt Gingrich has said in the past that she was a rising star, and then he said she's one of the top 30 people in the party, or something along those lines. So clearly he feels like he doesn't want to be upstaged by her.
Yeah, Matt, how much is this about Gingrich versus Palin? Because this whole flap comes as Politico is reporting that she was asked not to speak, was out of respect for Newt Gingrich. And then there's also this new article showing she may have lifted some of a recent speech from something that Gingrich wrote back in 2005. Let me just show you those two graphics of what she said and what Gingrich wrote. She said, quote, for example, she said, quote, we have to remember first that Ronald Reagan never won any arguments in Washington. He won the arguments by resonating with the American people. Well, in November 2005, in an article, Gingrich and Craig Shirley, a Republican strategist, wrote, quote, Reagan never won an argument in Washington. Reagan won his arguments in the country with the American people. Matt, are people going to look at this as her plagiarizing Gingrich?
Well, this is a little bit different than the difficulties that Joe Biden had with Neil Kinnock back in the 80s. But look,
not really, Matt.
But Peter, look, she cited the Newt Gingrich column at least 2 times in that speech, and her attorney has said that it was absolutely not plagiarism.
Peter, what's the other side?
Well, I mean, I guess we have to take her attorney's word for it then. I mean, the fact of the matter is that the Palin people are struggling to get a foothold on this race. You had Governor Pawlenty last week not running for re-election, so he wants to jump in 2012. So they clearly want to position themselves. Ronald Reagan is the icon of the Republican Party, and everyone rushes to identify with his legacy. And I think that's what she tried to do. She tread very closely to Gingrich's words, and then they had to clarify it. I think the bottom line is that you will have this for the next 2 years, 3 years. The Republican Party trying to figure out who is going to be the standard bearer, and you have Mitt Romney out there and some other folks who love to echo Reagan as well.
And don't forget, Sarah Palin has to make a very big decision, Nora. She has to decide whether she's going to run for re-election in 2010 or if she's going to free herself up the way Tim Pawlenty has to campaign across the country. It's a long ride from Alaska to those early primary states in New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Iowa.
Matt Mackowiak, Peter Marajanian, great to see both of you.
Great to see you. Thanks, Nora.
And could it be